Cody, will you just start us off with general thoughts coming out of the game?
Yeah. That was it was a tough one to digest throughout the game. I told the guys in the locker room, we're a good football team. We're just not playing well. And that comes ultimately from the coaching staff, myself first and foremost. But, every circumstance, whether it's, the third down or the short yardage or it just seemed like we were lacking a lot of detail on stuff, and not detail that is unique, not detail that is upper division football knowledge. Just basic stuff, and we got to figure out kind of how we can crank up the intensity in practice a little bit, how we can find the right guys to put in that situation, how we and coaches can do a better job communicating. Because don't get me wrong, it's not lost on me. We played 3 playoff teams in a row. That's awesome, but as we get going here, that's going to be the standard here. That's where those guys go, and that's what I told them in the locker room is, we want to play good football, so you're going to play good football teams. And, hey, yeah, we're talented, and we play great in stretches, but, you got to be able to put it together. And whether it's taking care of the football, converting on third down, lining up the right way, there's so much stuff that made you want to pull your hair out today, and I think that, it's ultimately on me to make sure that we can figure out how to play with a little bit more detail. And maybe it's coaching, maybe it's practice organization, maybe it's personnel. But it's maddening, it's frustrating because we're clearly capable of playing good football in spurts, but we're not playing winning football. And I know as the longer I'm here and as my expectations increase, it's just nobody's satisfied with not being awful anymore. We want to try and climb and scratch and claw and get over this hump. But, man, we're sitting there and, it's like you're staring at the top of the mountain, and it's kind of like you've gotten to this rock slide point where wow, I'm close to the peak, but you scratch and you claw, and you got to figure out, well, maybe you need to climb a little bit differently. Maybe you're not paying attention to the basics that got you here. And I know, I still love our football team. Hey, guys, I really care about you. And you might see me be a little bit more ornery. You might see me be a little bit more on it. Because, man, when you see a detail not getting taken care of, you got to say something. You got to say something immediately, and you got to say it in a manner in which everybody, not just the person who it affects, that everybody understands. And I owe it to the team, and I owe it to that organization to figure out how we can play better. Because we have good players, but we got to accelerate this learning curve. Because we're week 8. We're not young anymore. All these guys that are first year starters. Well, there are a lot of guys who don't play eight college football games. So we got to coach better. We got to mentor better. We got to play better. But our guys are totally capable, and I'm not going to doubt us in any game going down the stretch. But if we want to feel better coming out of the locker room, then we got to hammer in on those details and finish.
Cody, was it even a little more frustrating at your press conference Wednesday? You were talking about how during the break, that's what you were trying to emphasize, the details, the little things that win or lose games.
Yeah, it was super frustrating. Just you see some of those things, and even from a game planning standpoint and a practice organization standpoint, how we broke those down. Now, I do think the defense, they stopped the run and played pretty darn well in spurts, but situationally, was I talking to Scott? I was just talking about red zones and third downs and just basic stuff. And the third downs, they smoked us.
Yes.
You can sit around and, if you're a ISU homer at the bar, you're like, well, you got a lot of yards, or the yards were similar. But the guys, that's not football. It's you got to win in the margins. You got to play well in those moments. And that's where you see guys I don't know what Ty Pennington's performance was like on third down and fourth down, but I felt like it was pretty darn good. He was playing like a real vet. We got to get to the point where we can play that well. And I think Coach Wright, credit to him. They did a great job. They had a good plan on third down. They executed on third down. And, it was a bummer. I thought.
Well, and you talked about Ty being such a threat from a running standpoint, and you held him to only 50 yards, but it's when.
Yeah, no, and that's it. You talk about guys. He's not going to go out and try to run for 200 yards. They're not going to try and. Right, but he can do it, and that's where on the third downs he was able to move the chains, and he just created so many problems for us. And man, it was just, it was unfortunate for sure.
Coach, in the fourth quarter, this seemed like a big moment. You guys had just scored, Matt Shulikov, touchdown. NAU drives down, they kick a field goal, but there's a penalty.
Yeah.
So not only do they, get a first down, they bleed more clock, they score a touchdown.
Yeah, no,
What
I
was
know.
the penalty
Yeah.
on there? Walk me through that.
No, the penalty. We had too many guys on the field. It's 100% on the coaching staff, myself first and foremost, and then just the general awareness. We got to know, like, hey, if I don't want to mention people. We had too many guys on the field. That's what the penalty was. It's my fault. We knew they were kicking a field goal, but we didn't communicate appropriately.
Cody, penalties in general, what does the team need to do to work on the cleanup?
I don't know. I mean, the penalties today were wild. I mean, there were some that were called and some that weren't. I think it's being a little smarter in areas. I mean, obviously the third down penalty that extended the drive when they were backed up. You should never get pass interference or holding on third down. I mean, that's the easiest way to get it. They already have a 10% chance of converting anyways, and holding's a problem. I don't know. I mean, how many penalties we totally have? I don't necessarily know that they totally affected the game and the flow of it, but man, it seemed like we had a lot of bad ones that, like penalties that extended their drives that were bad.
Yeah,
Badly timed penalty.
Just like rushing, it wasn't a ton of yardage, but it might have been tiny.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like the timing, like the penalties. I remember thinking in my head, it wasn't so much like just the penalties. It's like when you got them. It's because penalties it's not necessarily an effective stat, but when you look at when they happen, I mean, it's penalties that extend drives. Those kill you. And I don't know how many we had. I mean, it felt like we had more than one. That I definitely. I mean, how many?
Well, there was the one on that touchdown that got taken back, right?
Yeah.
The penalty on there was 5. You got
five for 45 yards.
5 each.
5 for 40 yards, and obviously the one that negated the touchdown was a bummer. And I mean, yeah, we'll discuss that with Randy later. I mean, I'm not. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Real quick, turning the corner. Talk about Gabe Russo's punting tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe's the man. I felt bad that I never watched a single one of his punts because we had to go try to sit. I mean, just when you're walking off the field, and I mean, the stuff that you're having to go punt because of was super frustrating.
Pinned 2 inside the 5. And
Oh no! The field
but
position
it's
stuff was
just
he's incredible. Like the field position stuff was unbelievable. I mean, that probably has to be if you look at it too. I mean, to win the field position battle that drastically and still lose. I mean, that's rare. So I mean, credit for them. They had a couple long drives and got out of there and did enough to get out. But I mean, it was a bummer. Thought we had a shot at a couple safeties down there, and I'm not. Yeah, I mean, Gabe did a great job. And I say, like, we talk about the net punt thing too. Just the guys getting down there and being situationally aware and pinning them down there in the coverage. It's those guys work really hard, and I wish that we could we would have been able to capitalize that a little bit more, whether it's holding them or scoring with the short field. But we didn't, but Gabe's a stud.
Cody, can you take me through the thinking at the end of the first half? Toward the end of the first half, you had the ball. Jordan went for three quick passes, and you wound up punting it without not a whole lot of time off the clock. Was that Jordan just kind of improvising, audibling at the line, or was that something that you wanted to do intentionally just to keep throwing those 3 times?
I guess I don't have that exact play sequence stuck in my head that you're referring to, but I do know there was a sequence in there where, and I think I mean, they were easy, detailed things that we messed up, and that's where it's frustrating, It's just I'm like, hey, hand me your pen, Mark. It's not that hard. Well, if you throw it over my head, I'm like, well, Mark, I just told you to hand it to me. But that, I mean, it's going to be an issue. So we got to, and we keep finding situations to make easy situations hard. And it bums me out because our guys deserve better. Everybody deserves better. And we got to figure out how we can eliminate those because to me, it's not so much throwing's the issue. I mean, those guys did a good job moving around and they were giving up a lot of the underneath stuff. You just have to throw it and complete it when that happens, Sorry. You can ask a follow-up. I don't know.
No, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, as far as that goes, how do you feel your O-line played tonight, especially without striker?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the O-line played really well. I think we did give up 1 sack, which was like our first real sack this season. But, Coach Adam Clark for the DC for NAU, man, he does a lot of really good stuff. And not just what they're doing, but kind of the coordination of how they move around. I mean, a lot of the people who have gotten after him this year, I mean, it was like general explosive plays, or they just kind of like, not lucky, but they just like beat a human. Like it wasn't necessarily a schematic win. It was just like, oh, that guy missed the tackle and there's nobody else there. But they do a lot of stuff, and I appreciate, I mean, Coach Hughes did a great job getting those guys ready to play. I thought everybody up front played their butts off. Obviously, we have a ton of faith in Jorgen, so when Stryker went down, we were excited for Jorgen to step in there. Jorgen started games at right tackle as a true freshman and has since kind of moved around as we maneuver those pieces. But I thought the O-line played well, and I wish we would have, we obviously should have ran the ball more, and we had some spurts where we ran it, but we just gotta keep getting better.
Cody, you still have, going into the season, you had a lot of young players on the roster. And yeah, they've gotten a little bit of game experience, but they're still young. A lot of these guys are still freshmen and sophomores. How do you keep their spirits up? How do you keep the momentum going now? You still have 4 games to go. There's winnable games out there. As a coach, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I said going into the season that, my biggest task was going to be kind of mentoring the guys, more so than all these schematic adjustments or other things, just because we have a lot of guys that we're trying to mentor and accelerate quickly. And how are you going to handle success? How are you going to handle failure? Where we've gotten more failure than I would have bargained for, but I mean, we've got to make sure that we just keep focusing on the task at hand. And I told him, as stern as I was, as clearly frustrated with the outcome, that I still am, like I gotta say, I still feel really confident about our football team. Does it make you want to rip your hair out? It does. But if anybody goes home and looks in the mirror and feels like they're less than capable, then they're probably approaching it the wrong way. I don't want them to break the mirror. I told them if I feel like I want to punch the mirror, I would not do that. I like my knuckles and my mirrors in my house, but but it's one of those things. Like eventually we got to. It's a resolve that you're trying to create. It's not just being ticked off. It's not just being angry. It's definitely not being sad or upset, because if all you're doing is looking at the end result, that's not going to lead to consistent success, anyways. We got to keep looking at the process. And I told all those guys, like, I want everybody to go home and you got to write down one thing that you can do better. And I'm going to get with the leaders and I'm going to talk about, all right, well, what can the staff do better and what can we do better as a leadership group? Just because, even if we won today, Mark, if we could have won by 50, and just my general feel with how the game went, I would have probably said the same thing in the locker room. Like, guys, this ain't it. Like, we got to get better. And they know that they're capable, but we got to get better. This conference is too good, and nobody on our schedule is going to lay down, and nobody is out of reach. And that's why I say, like, it's so frustrating. Like, you just feel like you're stuck in this gravel pit staring at the top of the mountain because, in the win-loss column, it's not going the way you want, but you're playing great football in certain stretches, and we just have to make sure that those guys, how do we coach them to be in the right mindset to execute in those moments? Are we asking the right guys to do the right things? I mean, that's kind of the cool part about coaching is you could say, oh, it's all execution, but no, it's not. Like, how are we evaluating what they're executing during the week? How are we communicating what they should be doing so when their performance anxieties curve starts going nuts, how can they go out and handle it? Are we doing it with, like, is it the right guy? Like, maybe it's not who's the best person to be there. May not be the best. Maybe that's not the right answer. Maybe it's who is intangibly the best person to be in there at this moment in time, especially when you see those little ticky-tacky things. But I don't think our guys are bummed. I mean, our coaches love on our players, and trust me, I might be angry and assertive sometimes at practice, but I'm never MFing people. I'm not breaking people down. I'm always going to make sure our guys know that they're really capable, and that's why the standard is high. And the reason that I'm going to be upset and the reason that I'm going to be really affirmative with the coaching points is because they're capable of really, really good things. And until we change the process, until we master those details, then we'll get the same result, and that's not what anybody wants.
Coach, obviously a big turning point in the first half was the play that was ruled a fumble at the goal line. From my vantage point, I couldn't really see if he got the ball over the line. It did appear his backside was at least down. Officials review it. What explanation did they give you? Was there just not evidence to overturn the call on the field, or what did they tell you exactly on that one?
The call is upheld.
That's literally all they said?
Yep.
Okay.
Everything else I tried to ask was a no. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I mean, was I upset with the call? Yeah. Did I think it was the right call? I don't know. I wasn't on the goal line. But to me, you had a multitude of things just not. I mean, it seemed like every significant call didn't go our way, and probably the one I'm most upset about is the one where Ian Duarte got absolutely murdered like that. I mean, and I don't penalty or not, how they handled that was well. I mean, I think just when those things happen, guys, we shouldn't have put ourselves in that position anyways. I mean, and everybody would say it to a man, you never reach the ball across the goal line ever unless you know it's 4th down. Because if it's 4th and 1 from the half-yard line, we're going for it anyways. Because even if we don't get it, they're going to end up in the same situation. You just take it one off your board, and it's not selfish football. It's just guys trying to be superhuman, and we are good enough where we don't have to be superhuman. We don't need somebody to go stretch Armstrong to get in the end zone. We'd been running the football well. We're going to run it again, and then we're going to score. But just a lapse of judgment, and I gotta continue to coach those situations better. But yeah, I mean, I don't. They are what they are. I mean, you shouldn't leave it up to the refs.
Cody, finally, going into NAU, just aside from details, what do you think you need to focus on going into Monday?
Okay, going into next week, Davis. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we just gotta we gotta tinker with practice a little bit. I think just kind of figuring out how we maybe numb down what we're doing from a personnel exchange standpoint on defense. Maybe do a little bit less stuff schematically, crank up the competition piece. Just I just want to see us go out and not beat ourselves. Right? That's what I want to see. I want to see somebody knock us down. I want to see somebody stonewall us by ways that are not our fault. I want to see somebody just beat the crap out of our O-line, and because I don't think there's anybody that can do it. But we got to do a good job of trusting them and going. And that's really where I'm at. I think we need to simplify what we're doing because the personnel thing on defense was a problem. The subbing, obviously the special teams defense communication stuff of the base and the safe confusion. It's like, guys, why are we not signaling it all? I don't ever talk. I mean, everything is sign language because you have to be able to communicate when the decibels are making your ears bleed. But that was one thing that made me feel just such a failure of my own ability of communication. It's we have signals for base, we have signals for safe, but we're not using it. And it ain't that loud, and we're yelling base and safe, and we end up with both of them out there, and you end up giving up 3 minutes a clock and 4 points. That's a problem. And between that communication piece that Mark was mentioning, the stuff where the sequence he's managing is just 3 quick plays where we go out. It's guys, this is basic stuff, man. But again, I think when you're not handling the basics, you just got to focus on it because it's always going to be your fundamentals and your day one stuff that you're going to need to execute with. So trim down the packages of personnel and scheme, practice at a higher intensity, and really go over the top with being really, really deliberate and clear with our communication.
Okay.